Most people think of creatinine as just another line on their blood test, a quiet number buried in the report. But for millions of adults over 50, that little number tells a much bigger story. It's the story of how well your kidneys are holding up against decades of meals, medications, and modern stress. I've seen too many good people frightened by those words. Your creatinine is high. It can sound like a sentence, but it isn't. I'm Dr. Brian, and welcome to Channel Vital Science for Seniors. Today I'll show you something most doctors don't talk about: how the grains you eat every day can either protect your kidneys or silently strain them. By the end of this video, you'll know 3 humble grains that can help lower creatinine naturally, and one simple habit that eases kidney pressure almost overnight. When I first met Helen, she was 68, retired, and worried. Her doctor had just told her that her creatinine levels were climbing. She sat across from me with a small notebook full of questions. "Dr. Brian," she said, "I've done everything right. I don't eat much salt. I walk every morning. Why are my kidneys still struggling?" We looked together at her diet, and something caught my attention. Her breakfast. Instant cereal packets every morning, the kind that claim to be heart healthy, but come with flavorings, sodium, and hidden phosphate additives. What Helen didn't realize was that these so-called healthy grains were quietly burdening her kidneys, forcing them to filter more than they should. So I asked her to make one small change: replace the instant packets with simple old-fashioned rolled oats. Within 2 months, her energy improved, her swelling went down, and her labs showed her creatinine had slightly dropped. What changed wasn't just the grain, it was the chemistry inside her body. You see, oats are a very different kind of grain. When you pour water or almond milk over them, something magical happens. They release a soluble fiber called beta-glucan. Inside your digestive system, beta-glucan turns into a soft gel that slows everything down, almost like traffic lights along a busy highway. This delay means protein waste products like urea and creatinine enter your bloodstream more gradually, giving your kidneys a chance to handle the load gently instead of being bombarded all at once. It's not just theory. Johns Hopkins University ran studies showing that people who followed lower protein, plant-based diets, especially those including oats, had slower rises in creatinine over time. That means every morning bowl could be quietly protecting your kidneys from unnecessary strain. But the benefits don't stop there. Oats also bring magnesium, about 138 milligrams in a single cooked cup. Think of magnesium as the mineral of relaxation. It relaxes muscles, yes, but also the tiny blood vessels inside your kidneys that do the hard work of filtering. When those vessels are under constant pressure, they stiffen and scar, reducing your kidney's ability to clean your blood. Magnesium keeps those vessels soft and flexible, lowering the internal tension that drives kidney decline. And then there are the antioxidants, a mouthful to pronounce, but powerful nonetheless. Avenanthramides. Found almost exclusively in oats, they act like peacekeepers in your bloodstream, calming inflammation in vessel walls. Inflammation is the silent villain behind kidney damage. It's what makes blood vessels brittle and filtration less efficient. Researchers at Tufts University discovered that avenanthramides reduce inflammatory markers and keep circulation smooth. A small miracle inside every spoonful. For people with high creatinine, this combination of fiber, magnesium, and antioxidants makes oats not just a food, but a form of therapy. When eaten regularly, they help slow waste absorption, improve blood flow, and ease the kidney's daily workload. It's no wonder many nephrologists quietly recommend oats to their patients with early kidney disease. Now, how you prepare them matters. Helen learned to make her oats the night before. Half a cup of rolled oats soaked in unsweetened almond milk with a spoon of chia seeds and a handful of blueberries. Chia adds more soluble fiber and healthy omega-3 fats, while blueberries bring antioxidants without too much potassium, an important detail for anyone managing kidney issues. That simple jar in the fridge became her morning ritual, her quiet act of self-care. But there's something else, I told her. The wrong kind of oats can undo all those benefits. Instant oats, even those that look harmless, often contain sodium or phosphate additives that create extra work for your kidneys. So always read the label. If you see phosphate or sodium bicarbonate, leave it on the shelf. Choose rolled or steel-cut oats, store them in a glass jar, and let them do their quiet work. Of course, even good things can go too far. For anyone new to fiber, start small. Maybe a third of a cup dry oats and build up slowly. Too much too soon can cause bloating or gas. And if you have diabetes, remember that even oats contain carbohydrates. Large servings can raise blood sugar, indirectly putting stress on the kidneys. Moderation and mindfulness are key. What still amazes me after years of practice is how something as ordinary as oats, a food most of us overlook, can change the way our kidneys function. It's as if the body recognizes it, saying, finally, something that works with me, not against me. Every warm bowl is a quiet ally, helping you reclaim balance one breakfast at a time. When I think of quinoa, I always remember David, a 72-year-old retired engineer who came to see me after his doctor warned him that his kidneys were borderline. He had high creatinine and early signs of stage 2 kidney disease. "Doc," he told me, "I've been eating less meat like you said, but I feel weak. I'm tired all the time." I smiled because this was such a common concern. When people cut back on animal protein, they often lose energy. But the key isn't just eating less protein, it's eating the right kind. That's where quinoa comes in. I told David that quinoa isn't just another grain, it's what nutritionists call a complete protein. It contains all 9 essential amino acids, the same ones found in meat. But it doesn't come with a heavy nitrogen load that forces your kidneys to work overtime. Think of nitrogen like the ash left behind after a fire. When you burn animal protein, your body has to clean up that ash, and that job falls on your kidneys. With quinoa, the fire burns cleaner. You get the nourishment without the waste. David was skeptical. "You mean that tiny seed can replace my chicken?" I laughed and said, "Give it 2 weeks." He did, adding a half cup of cooked quinoa to his lunch and dinner. 2 weeks later, he called me, surprised. "I've got more energy, and my legs don't feel as heavy." His next blood test showed his creatinine had slightly improved, and his potassium levels were stable. Inside your body, quinoa does something remarkable. It provides moderate protein, about 8 grams per cup, enough to keep your muscles strong without overloading your kidneys. Its magnesium helps relax blood vessels, improving circulation in the kidney's filtering units, the nephrons, and its potassium helps balance fluid and blood pressure, which is essential since high blood pressure is both a cause and a consequence of kidney disease. But what really makes quinoa a hero grain is its antioxidants. It's rich in flavonoids, quercetin and camphorol, names that sound like chemistry class. But their effect is simple. They act like firefighters, cooling the inflammation that damages kidney tissue. Inflammation is one of the biggest hidden culprits behind rising creatinine. A study published in the Journal of Food Science and Technology found that regular quinoa consumption lowered oxidative stress markers and improved lipid profiles in adults, both crucial factors for kidney health. Beyond its inner chemistry, quinoa is gentle on digestion. Unlike wheat or barley, it's naturally gluten-free, making it easier for sensitive stomachs. And because it's high in fiber, it slows sugar absorption, helping keep blood glucose steady. Another gift to your kidneys, which thrive when your blood sugar is calm and consistent. Now, I always tell my patients, rinse it well before cooking. Quinoa seeds are coated in a natural compound called saponine, which tastes bitter and can irritate the stomach if left on. A quick rinse under cold water removes it easily. Cook it like rice. 1 part quinoa to 2 parts water. Bring to a boil, then simmer for 15 minutes until it fluffs up. For David, I suggested a simple dish, quinoa vegetable pilaf. He'd saute carrots, green beans, and onions in a spoon of olive oil, then stir in cooked quinoa with a sprinkle of herbs. It became his new favorite lunch. He later told me, "I don't miss meat as much. I feel lighter." That word lighter stayed with me, because that's exactly what we want for the kidneys. A lighter workload, a gentler rhythm. Still, quinoa isn't a free pass. For people with more advanced kidney disease, especially those advised to limit protein, portion control matters. Half a cup to 1 cup of cooked quinoa per meal is usually ideal. Overdoing it, even with plant protein, can tip the balance back towards strain. And avoid those instant quinoa cups you see in stores. They often contain high sodium or flavoring agents that work against your kidney's efforts to heal. I once described quinoa to a patient as the grain that thinks it's a plant doctor. It nourishes, protects, and balances. Each spoonful whispers to your kidneys, you can rest now. That's the beauty of food when we use it wisely. It becomes part of the healing process. By the time David came for his follow-up 3 months later, his creatinine had stabilized, and his energy was steady. More than the numbers, what I noticed was his face, no longer pale and worried, but bright. It feels like my body's finally cooperating, he said, and that's what the right foods can do. Turn conflict into cooperation, even inside your cells. So if you're trying to lower high creatinine naturally, remember this. It's not just what you cut out that matters, it's what you invite in. And quinoa deserves an invitation. Some foods have been quietly healing people for thousands of years, long before we had words like creatinine or glomerular filtration rate. Barley is one of them. Ancient Egyptians called it the grain of endurance. In Ayurveda and traditional Chinese medicine, barley water was given to people with tired kidneys. Though they didn't use the term, they meant the same thing. Today, modern science finally explains why that old wisdom worked. I remember a patient named Lillian, 74, a retired librarian who came to see me because her legs were swelling and she felt constantly tired. Her doctor told her her creatinine was slightly elevated, but not to worry yet. The trouble was, Lillian did worry. She'd watched her sister go through dialysis years earlier and feared the same fate. When we looked through her food diary, I saw a lot of refined white rice, crackers, and pastries, grains stripped of fiber, leaving behind sugar and starch. I explained to her that not all grains are equal, and barley might be her kidney's best friend. Barley is rich in beta-glucans, the same soluble fiber found in oats, but in even higher concentrations. Think of beta-glucan as a sponge that soaks up excess waste products before they can enter the bloodstream. When this sponge-like fiber travels through your intestines, it binds with nitrogen compounds, the very byproducts that eventually turn into creatinine, and helps carry them out of the body naturally. That means less waste for your kidneys to process and less pressure on the tiny filters that do the cleaning. Barley's fiber also slows the release of sugar from your meals. For anyone with diabetes, one of the biggest drivers of kidney damage, this is a quiet lifesaver. A study published in Plant Foods for Human Nutrition found that people who added barley to their diets had improved blood sugar control and reduced cholesterol levels within just a few weeks. When blood sugar stays steady, your kidney's filtration units, the nephrons, are spared from the inflammation and stiffness caused by glucose spikes. There's another advantage hidden inside every chewy grain of barley. Its minerals. Selenium and manganese might sound like obscure chemistry terms, but inside your body, they're antioxidants that guard against oxidative stress, the rusting process of your cells. Think of your kidneys as an intricate water filter. Over time, that filter can clog or corrode from constant exposure to toxins. Selenium and manganese act like a gentle rinse, reducing that corrosion so your kidneys keep filtering smoothly. For Lillian, I suggested something simple. Swap her white rice for barley a few times a week. At first, she wrinkled her nose. Barley, isn't that for soups? She asked. I laughed and said, it's for your kidneys too. She started small. A half cup of cooked hulled barley added to vegetable soup with carrots, zucchini, and olive oil. She later told me she enjoyed its chewy texture, and over time her swelling eased. When she returned for a checkup, her creatinine had improved slightly, and she felt lighter on her feet. Barley's glycemic index is another reason I love it for patients with kidney concerns. It's much lower than white rice or bread, meaning it releases energy slowly, keeping both your blood sugar and your kidney workload stable. That's critical because every glucose spike creates tiny injuries in your blood vessels, injuries that the kidneys have to repair. When you eat low GI foods like barley, you prevent those micro-injuries before they even start. Preparation, however, makes all the difference. The best kind of barley for kidney health is whole barley, the whole grain with its fiber intact. Pearl barley, which is more common in stores, has been polished and stripped of much of that fiber. It still helps, but not as much. So when shopping, look for the word hulled. It takes a little longer to cook, about 45 minutes, but your kidneys will thank you for it. Barley water, a traditional drink in many cultures, can also be beneficial. Simply simmer a handful of barley grains in water for 30 minutes, strain, and let it cool. It's mild, hydrating, and helps with gentle detox. But moderation is key. Too much barley water can cause bloating or discomfort due to its fiber content. A small glass once a day is enough. I should mention one caution. Barley contains gluten, so it's not suitable for those with celiac disease or gluten sensitivity. For most people, though, it's perfectly safe and deeply nourishing. I like to imagine barley as an old friend, humble, unassuming, and quietly reliable. It doesn't shout for attention, but it works steadily behind the scenes, supporting your kidneys one meal at a time. Lillian once told me, "I never thought a grain could make me feel younger." It wasn't magic, it was balance. Her body finally running at ease because her kidneys weren't overloaded. That's the beauty of foods like barley. They teach us that healing doesn't always come from something new or expensive. Sometimes it's rediscovering the old and letting your body remember what real nourishment feels like. Now, before we wrap up, let me share one simple practice that complements everything you eat. A gentle yoga pose called legs up the wall. It's as straightforward as it sounds. Lie on the floor with your hips close to a wall and your legs extended upward. Stay for 5 to 10 minutes, breathing slowly. What happens is beautiful. Gravity helps fluid drain from your legs back toward your heart, easing swelling and kidney pressure. It also lowers stress hormones and blood pressure, two quiet enemies of kidney health. Do it daily. Your kidneys will feel the relief. So let's bring it all together. Oats, quinoa, and barley. Three humble grains with extraordinary power to protect your kidneys. Oats soothe with fiber, magnesium, and antioxidants. Quinoa fuels you with balanced plant protein and gentle minerals. Barley steadies your blood sugar and helps sweep waste from your body. Together, they form a quiet alliance against rising creatinine. And when you add calm moments like the legs up the wall pose, your body's natural rhythm returns to balance. Remember, healing isn't about perfection. It's about small, consistent acts of care that build strength over time. If this message gave you hope or clarity about managing creatinine naturally, I invite you to stay connected. Subscribe to Heal You for more science-based, heart-centered kidney health guidance. Type the word relief in the comments if you feel lighter, knowing that healing is within reach. Share where you're watching from and tell me which grain you'll start with: oats, quinoa, or barley. Every comment and share helps someone else find their way to better health. Remember, even one small change, a mindful meal or a moment of rest, can bring your kidneys back to calm.